So today we're going to talk about how to accelerate your business growth through systemising. So first of all, before that, just a little bit about me. So I worked in the corporate world for 35 years. For 20 of those years, I was part of the senior management team for one particular company. When I started, it was a £2 million company, and we managed to grow it over the 20 years to 65 million. I am also a property investor. I've been investing in properties since the mid-90s, and self-managing all that time my properties as well. In 2017, I decided that I wanted to quit the corporate world. I'd achieved everything that I wanted to achieve, and I really wanted to focus my time on my property business. So that's what I did. 2017, I left. I started to do a lot of networking and mixing with other people. And everything that I knew from my corporate background, I applied to my property business. And that included taking on a virtual assistant to help me with all the sort of day-to-day admin tasks within the business, because I knew that I couldn't do everything myself. And as I say, I was doing a lot of networking and meeting other people, entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, property investors, and a lot of people were asking me and saying to me that it was amazing the way I had this virtual assistant that was doing all this work for me. Could I help them do the same? Could I help them systemize their business? And could I help them recruit a virtual assistant? So in 2018, it was clear there was such a demand for these services that I started to do some business mentoring and some recruitment of virtual assistants from the Philippines. And I formed a new business called Awaken Business. That was really, really successful, and I had lots of clients coming on board. And so I started to think about how can I really improve what we were doing and come up with a really good, unique service that would help people outsource and give people the support within their business when it came to outsourcing tasks to a virtual assistant. And how can we improve with the recruitment and actually train virtual assistants to work our own particular way? So 2019, we launched a service called Boom. It is now my flagship service, if you like, and growing all the time. And of course, we're also improving what we do all the time. So that's a little bit about me. First of all, I've mentioned that I systemized my business. So what does it mean to actually systemize your business? There are three key ingredients, key elements, if you like, to a systemized business. First of all, you need to automate what you do, the various different things that you do within the business as much as possible. And you do that by using the right software. You need to have a process. So the process is the way you do things, the way you achieve certain outcomes within your business, consistently doing things the same way. And the third thing is to actually have people within your business that are using the software, that are running the process, so you don't have to do it. And then when you have got those three ingredients, then you have got a systemized business. So what are the reasons to systemize your business? So first of all, you need to be consistent in how you do things. So your process or your processes, they need to be firmly established so you always do things the same way. So perhaps a good example here could be McDonald's. You could go into any McDonald's anywhere in the world and you would know exactly what you're going to get. You know you're in a McDonald's. You don't even need to see the McDonald's sign anywhere. Just by being there, they're always kitted out the same, they're decorated the same, the staff are dressed the same. You know what to order, you know what you're going to get, because the burger itself will be cooked in a particular way. It's going to have the same amount of lettuce, the same amount of tomatoes, sauce, etc., etc. Everything is going to be identical wherever you go. They've got the system, they are consistent in what they do. When you systemize your business, you maintain your quality. If you always do things the same way and you have these processes and everybody is following the process, then your output is always going to be the same way. There won't be good days and bad days. And of course, that sets the client expectation as well. As I just said, when you go into McDonald's, you know exactly what you're going to get. You may not get the best burger in the world, but you know what it's going to be, and it will be consistent. Another reason to systemize the business is that we're all good at different things. So there may be some things that you're good at. For some people, they may be great creators, coming up with ideas, always got a new idea in their head. But often those people find it very difficult to follow through because they get bored easy. And so they're good at the ideas, but actually putting things in place and getting those ideas implemented, not so good. And then there are other people who perhaps aren't very good at coming up with ideas, but they really love the detail and they love to have a process and a way of doing things, and they can follow that process to the letter. They like due diligence, they're very analytical people. So, you know, we all fall into different categories. So as a person that's running a business, it's really important that you are doing the things that you're good at and not trying to do the things that you're bad at, because obviously you're not going to make a very good job at it. Now, we talk about the 5 functional areas of business, and it really doesn't matter what your business is. So whether it's retail, whether you're a service business, whether you're in property, these 5 functional areas are common to all businesses. So first of all, there's the marketing. This is how you attract people to your business, how you generate inquiries. Then there's the sales. So how you convert those inquiries into firmed up business. Then there's the operations. So this is how you deliver your product or your service to your clients. Finance, how you get paid, how you pay your suppliers, how you pay your staff, your team. Credit control, anything relating to the numbers. And then the 5th piece, which a lot of people forget about, is client retention. How you go on to do repeat business with your clients or retain them for future work. And you've got to make sure that you have all of the right sort of people in those functional areas. So as I say, the people that are doing your marketing, they may be very good creative people. There often could be similar people that you have doing your sales. The sales people are probably going to be a bit extrovert. They're always the last person standing at the party. They like to be in the limelight. Operations and finance, so they can be again much more sort of introverted people, the people that like the detail, the people that like to follow the process. And client retention, that is really down to how you actually go about doing what you do. And following up, so also your sales could be involved in client retention as well. So following up on clients to make sure that they had a good experience, and what other requirements do they have coming up or currently. Now there's a fella called Brad Sugars. Brad Sugars is an Australian gentleman, and he runs, if you haven't heard of him, he runs the largest coaching business. It's a franchise business, largest coaching business in the world, called Action Coach. And there are thousands and thousands of action coaches all over the place. He's also a prolific property investor as well. And he has this saying, not employing someone in your business is costing you a fortune. So it's really important that you build a team within your business, you build a dream team, and you don't try and do everything yourself. So these are the reasons why you need to have a dream team. So first of all, as I just said, you can't do everything yourself. You can't be a master at everything. You may be a very good people person, which may mean that you're great at sales, networking, and maybe with the marketing, but not so good at the details. So if that's the case, don't try and do your own bookkeeping. But alternatively, if you love the details and numbers, then and you enjoy it, of course, you do your own bookkeeping, but find somebody else that can actually go out and get the business. Also, not just a question of not being good at certain things. There's a lot of things that you don't really know how to do either, and you don't. If you can outsource, then it means you don't have to actually start to learn how to do these things. So in my business, we've got a big team. I have lots of virtual assistants in my business that are all doing different things. Some of those things I could do myself, but there's many tasks that are being done within my business that I wouldn't really be able to do because they're just not for me. With a lot of us also, there are things that we know we should be doing in our business, but we don't actually ever get around to doing them. We just keep putting them off. And these can be really important things that can actually make a big difference to your profits or your sales. So for instance, if you're in a service business, you need to make sure that that you know what your competitors are charging. So, and for some businesses, so I'm involved in serviced accommodation, which is renting out properties by the night, sort of Airbnb model. And that is something where pricing is changing every week, depending on supply and demand, the time of year, season, etc. And so it's really important there that you're checking rates every week to make sure that you're charging the right rate. And if you're charging too much, then you're throwing, you're not going to get the business. You're going to lose out to your competitors. And of course, if you're charging too little, then you're throwing money down the drain. So think about that. And as a business owner, you need to really be delegating as much as possible that goes on within the business and actually be doing as little as possible. You need to be working on the business rather than in it. So outsource what you don't want to do or have to do today. And remember, as you start to build your team, that all takes time. So recruit today for the people that you need tomorrow. If you think about your business and think about, where do I want to be in 6 months' time? Where do I want to be in a year's time? And as you plan all that out, as you write your business plan, start to think, okay, so who are the people that I actually need within the business to help me get there? And it does take time. So if you're doing this yourself, you need to, first of all, you need to think about, okay, so if I need somebody to help me with my marketing, then what exactly is the role? And you've got to think about that. What are the tasks that I need the person to do? So then you've got to write a job description. You're going to have to obviously post that somewhere, whether it's on the internet or local advertising, but you're going to have to post that where people are going to see it to apply. Then you're going to get the applications in. You're going to get if you've worded it right, you've made the listing attractive, you can expect to receive lots and lots of CVs. We typically get around about 250 CVs coming in every month. So you're going to have to go through those, look at them, try and shortlist them down, decide who do you actually want to take through to the next stage. Once you've done that, then you're going to perhaps maybe have a telephone conversation or a Zoom call with somebody and have an interview with them. You may give them some tests to do or some sample work, something like that to do. Then after that, you may actually have another meeting with them, another interview. All of our candidates have 2 interviews by 2 different people. And then there may be other things that you need to do. So you might want to check their references, maybe do some security checks with them, this sort of thing, until you finally do make a decision on who you actually want. Once you've then recruited that person, then you need to actually get them used to the actual job. So you're going to onboard them, and then you're going to actually give them some training in what is the role, what are your existing processes, how do you do things. So you're going to go through this training period, and they're going to, obviously, as they start doing the role, and they get used to it, they're going to start to become more and more efficient. And then finally, you'll get to the stage where they really understand the job now. They've been doing it for a while, and this is where we say they're in their flow. They then don't really need to think too hard about what they're doing. It all becomes a bit of an automatic process. But that all takes time. That could take, it could take 3 months, it could take 6 months, depending on the role and the complexities of it. So you do need to plan well in advance on who are the team that you need to build. As you're recruiting, you also want to consider, do I want part-time people or do I want full-time people? A bit of advice here, I would try and avoid having full-time people as much as possible. You are far better to have 2 part-timers in a role than 1 full-time person. And the reason for that really is, first of all, you're going to have more resilience if you're spreading the role amongst 2 people. You're not so reliant on that 1 person. If somebody is sick or they leave, then all of a sudden you're not left with such a big hole to fill. So also, you can start to, as you start to build your team, you can start to allocate the task to what people are best at. So always play to people's strengths. Don't try and build on their weaknesses. So if you've got somebody within, and I'm going to pick on marketing again because it's easy. If you've got somebody in your marketing department who is really good at coming up with graphics and images and things like that, but they're not so good at the words, then get somebody else that's really good at putting the words together and coming up with the written content, and somebody else that person that's good at doing the images and designs to do that. So you focus the tasks on what people are best at, and also for the actual person itself, it can give them more variation. So with our virtual assistants, if somebody is looking for full-time hours, we will give them 2 or 3 clients. So they could be working for 2 or 3 clients on a part-time basis, and that way they're getting some variation as well. They're not too reliant on any 1 client. And of course, they're learning new things all the time because they may be doing different things for 1 client than they are with somebody else. So it's all round, it is better really to adopt the policy of having part-timers rather than full-timers. Then there's, okay, so how am I going to employ these people? So you could have people on PAYE. I don't recommend it, and I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. Another option is to use freelancers, or another option is to use virtual assistants. So sometimes freelancers may be the right choice, particularly I think if you have got project work that needs to be done. Then there are websites that you can go on to, such as Upwork, People Per Hour, these sorts of websites. If you've got a particular project, like perhaps build a website or design for a logo or something like that, then you can post the actual requirement on those sites, and then people will then bid for the actual work. They can be based anywhere in the world, but you take them on just to do a specific project, and they're not really part of your team. Another option is a virtual assistant, and this is somebody that you take on. They're part of your team, they're part of your business, so they are there for the long term. So what exactly is a virtual assistant? So they tend to fall into two categories. First of all, you can have VAs, virtual assistants, VAs that deal with general admin. So they can just deal with the sort of day-to-day heavy lifting stuff, but they're not particular specialists in any one particular area. Or you could have a specialist. So within my team, we've got a lot of specialists within my team. For instance, web designers, we've got content writers, we have people that specialize in property, and that's what they do, bookkeeping. So on my accounts team, my lead bookkeeper is a qualified accountant. They're still a virtual assistant, they're still working in the Philippines, but that's their background, that's their particular area of expertise. Your virtual assistant becomes part of your business, so they are part of your team, and they are working for you on a regular basis. They will generally work from home, not always, but in the main, they will work from home. And a virtual assistant can be UK based, or they can be based overseas. So the popular parts of the world nowadays are places like India. South Africa is becoming very popular as well. There are various different places. We deal solely in the Philippines, and the Philippines is the most popular part of the world now for virtual assistants, and for very good reason. So first of all, in the Philippines, very good standard of education. So most of the VAs, that they'll either have a university education, or they will certainly be of that caliber. They have great English skills as well. They are very honest and hardworking, and they're happy to work on a UK time clock as well. And our virtual assistants, as part of VAVAVM, we actually train them in our software that we recommend and the processes. So that actually does cut down a lot of that recruitment time and training time, because with us, we actually train them in advance before they're placed with a client. So what are the things that a virtual assistant can do for you? So I'm going to go through some of the things in groups here. So first of all, on the marketing and sales, they can help you build your audience. So on Facebook and social media, actually go out and connect you to the right sort of people that fit your customer avatar. They can drive your email marketing campaigns, build and manage your social media for you. So again, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, they can be going on there, reacting to other people's comments, liking them, doing your posts for you, making sure that there's plenty of engagement. Prepare your marketing material and presentations. So all of these slides that I'm using here are all designed and prepared by one of my team, not by me. Updates to your websites and search engine optimization. So that's SEO. So that's the technology and the techniques that make sure that your website is coming up on the front page of Google. Manage your prospect database. So we're going to talk about CRM systems in a minute. So they can actually make sure that you've got a database of people that you're sending out your messages to, your emails to, and making sure that obviously everything is GDPR compliant. Managing your appointments for you. So your diary, we've moved on to operations here. So managing your appointments for you, your diary, managing your inbox and responding to any emails as necessary, or bringing to your attention if they don't know what the response is, and discussing with you, and unsubscribing you from all the junk emails that you get as well. Sourcing and stacking potential deals. So if you're involved in property, then they can actually be looking on Rightmove and Zoopla and these sort of sites to find you suitable deals. Listing your rooms or your products online, doing e-commerce for you, taking your inquiries. We can actually set virtual assistants up with a phone system. So you can give out a UK-based local landline number, But when people call that, it goes through to the Philippines, and your virtual assistant could use that number to call out from as well. Drafting and issuing out any agreements for signing. So all of this can be done virtually using software such as DocuSign or Signable. Undertaking new client onboarding or tenant onboarding. Liaising with your local utilities and suppliers. Creating information packs for new customers. Doing your price rate checking, as I said earlier, going onto the internet, making sure that your pricing is correct and you're not either undercharging or overcharging. Creating and updating your operations manuals. So when we talked about process and having a way of doing things, it's really important that your processes are documented. These are called your operations manuals, and they explain exactly how you do everything. And this becomes, they actually become part of your greatest asset. That is the Bible on how you do things. And going back to McDonald's, so if you purchase a McDonald's franchise, one of the things you're buying into is their operations manuals, where everything is documented, how they do things, examples. It's all in there, and that is how they manage to maintain that consistency. And you should be doing that with your business as well. Collecting and checking incoming payments on the finance side, chasing up any late payments, doing your bookkeeping. If you've got other people in your team that need to be paid that are on the payroll, so doing your payroll and making supplier payments. Producing for you financial statements and reports. So again, if you're one of those sort of people that's great with coming up with ideas, you're a creator, or you're more on sales, and you like talking to people, but you're not so good at the detail. That's all well and good, but you are running a business, so you do have to know what how is the business performing, what's cash flow like, what's your profit and loss like. So you could have a virtual assistant perhaps that is producing these reports for you, and they're coming to you once a week, and they're just running through the numbers with you, letting you know if there's anything coming up, if there's any problems with cash flow, how things are going, and just keeping you updated so that you do at least know what's going on. Managing your expenses and your mileage log. So lots and lots of tasks, and those are just a few of the more popular tasks. There's other things, of course. Really anything that can be done from behind a computer, you can have a virtual assistant do for you. So for many people, you may be thinking, well, this is all well and good, but I'm a small business, I've only just started, so how can I afford to be employing these people within my business? So here's some good news for you. So on the left here, we have here a typical minimum wage earner. I don't know why I'm picking on McDonald's today. No offense to McDonald's, no offense to anybody that works in McDonald's. But if you take somebody on minimum wage, then you're going to get somebody obviously that's usually quite young, beginning of their career. It may be a part-time job whilst they're at university, something like that. They're not going to have a great deal of life experiences under their belt. However, if you were to take on a virtual assistant from the Philippines, we have different rates, but typically the rates you would be paying would be around about £7.45 an hour for a virtual assistant that can do sort of your general, like I say, the heavy lifting. In fact, that's the most you pay for a general virtual assistant. The pricing goes down from there. But it doesn't stop there. So when you look at the cost to employ somebody, if you were to have somebody full-time on PAYE, you obviously have to give them a basic salary, and on top of that you have to pay national insurance contribution as well. But there's also a whole load of other costs as well. So you now have to contribute to a pension scheme. You've got the onboarding cost of that person. You've got the training of that person. You've got payroll to deal with. You're no doubt going to have to give them a computer and a mobile telephone and this sort of thing. So the true cost of actually employing somebody in the first year is nearer to £25,000. So a big difference to that sort of cost and having somebody as a virtual assistant working out of the Philippines. Now, when I first started doing this and I started networking and talking to people and going to various different property meetings, and I said, people were saying to me, you know, this is really clever, really good, the way you've got this virtual assistant that's doing all this stuff. And a lot of people said to me that they had tried working with a virtual assistant and it hadn't worked out for them. So I would ask, well, you know, why didn't it work out? What went wrong? And I used to find I got the same sort of answers back. So I'm going to run through what are some of the common mistakes that people make when recruiting a virtual assistant. Well, first of all, they don't know how to recruit. So I just run through that process very quickly of recruiting. But if you're new to it and you've never done it before, it really is very difficult and hard to work it out and to you know, spot who's the talent and who's not. And so you can then actually take on people and they're not very good. And for some people, some business owners, they might go through 2, 3, 4 people before they actually end up with the right person for them. So not actually knowing how to recruit, not understanding the culture. If you're employing somebody from overseas, it's really important that you understand their culture, and equally important that that person understands our culture as well. So very important. Not having a process, not having a way of doing things, consistently doing things the same way. Not using any task management system, not using any CRM system or client relationship management system. I'm going to come on and talk about CRMs in a second. For many people, they've always worked on their own. They've never had to, they've never had a team around them. And so not really knowing how to be a team leader and lead that team and being there to support them. Not having any kind of reporting process. Another common one where people are outsourcing to home workers, and we've seen this a lot since obviously COVID, and more people have been working from home. Often people make the mistake, they thinking that because that person's working from home, they're available 24/7. You know, when you've got somebody working for you in the same office or working with you in the same office, come 5 o'clock, you see them walking out the door. That's it. You know, they've gone home now. They've finished work, and it's unlikely that you're going to start ringing them up and asking them about work stuff. Whereas when somebody is at home, often people can think, well, they're at home. You know, they're working from home. They're always there, so they're available 24/7. That is absolutely not the case. Not working with people's individual skills. So again, I said, you know, as you start to build your team, you find out what people's strengths are, what their weaknesses are, and then you work on you work on their skills. You give them work to do that they're going to be good at, and don't waste time trying to give people work that they're never going to be good at. And of course, when you go through a recruitment agency, they don't provide any kind of support at all. They don't really provide any kind of training or anything like that. So when it comes to working with other people. So now we're going to talk a little bit about software and some of the technical bits when it comes to working with other people. So first of all, when it comes to the internet, it's very important that you're working safely and securely on the internet. So I would recommend, first of all, if you're going to be sharing documents or files at all with anybody remotely, create a shared cloud storage drive. You could use, you know, OneDrive we use, you've got Dropbox, any one of those, Google Drive. Share that with your virtual assistant, with your remote team, and make sure that everything that is being worked on is saved in that shared drive. What you don't want is your VA or your remote worker creating content, creating things, creating documents, PowerPoint presentations, whatever it is, and saving it to their local machine, because then you haven't got access to it. So do make sure that all information, all documents and files are shared like that. Plan out a file structure with your virtual assistant, with your team. Have a proper way of organizing the files. Again, if you're not somebody for the detail, this is something that you could get your virtual assistant to actually work out what's going to be the best file structure. We also can give advice on this sort of thing as well. And then document it, or have your VA document it. So it's all agreed. And again, it's like your operations manuals, it becomes part of your training. So when new people come along, you can give them these documents. You can say, this is our process. This is the way we do things. This is how we file things away. Give your virtual assistants their own email address. So don't allow VAs to be using like a Gmail address or Hotmail, whatever. Make sure that it is an email address that is with your domain on it. So first of all, when you do that, they're going to feel much more valued. And also you should be using, make sure you have got your own domain. I see a lot of people where they actually don't have a domain. They're conducting a business using Gmail addresses, and it really doesn't look very professional. In the same way as also, if you're running a business, get an 01 number as well. Don't just rely on a mobile phone, because it makes you look small and amateurish. So you want to make your business look as professional as possible. So have your own domain, give your VA an email address. It will make them feel more valued, feel more part of the business. And of course, also, if they're just using Gmail, then when they move on, when they leave, you've lost all the historic communications. Whereas if they're using an email address, which is your own domain, then you own those emails. You've always got access to them. Make sure you use a password management system. I'm going to talk about that in a bit more detail in a second. And you can also use a virtual private network, or what's known as a VPN. This is a sort of added layer of internet security. It means that when you are logging onto websites, or your virtual assistant is logging onto websites, it will hide your IP address. So it's an extra layer that can protect you from hackers. So password security. So we use something called Lastpass. Lastpass will generate unique passwords for all of the individual sites that you visit. So most people know that they shouldn't really be having one password for everything, and you certainly shouldn't be writing your passwords down into the little red book somewhere. Lastpass will generate these unique passwords for every single site, and you only have to remember one password, which is your LastPass password, the password you use to log on to LastPass. And then once you've generated these passwords, then you can share safely the passwords with other team members. They'll never know what the password is. They've got access to the websites, but they won't actually know the password at all, which means that very secure. They can't write it down. And then, of course, when they move on, then all you do is withdraw the permission. So that's LastPass. CRM, or client relationship management software. So that's what it is. I recommend that anybody that is working with other people, you use a CRM system. This is where you store all of your contact details. As you talk to your clients, you can make notes in there against their name. You can set up tasks. So if you need to make a follow-up call to somebody, then that would become a task, and you would get an automatic reminder to say that you need to ring this particular person. You can schedule appointments in there as well. And when I say you, it's also your VA can do all of this, can be talking to your clients and saving their contact details and making the notes and scheduling the tasks and arranging your appointments for you. And also the final bit on a CRM system there is that it will also, you can log your emails there. So when you send an email to a client, or you receive an email from a client, it's logged against that person's name in your CRM system. So whenever you're talking to that client, you can immediately click on their name and you can see all the history. What notes have you made? What appointments have you had in the past? What emails have you exchanged between the two of you? Now then, the trouble with CRM systems is that they can become very complex. They can do an awful lot of things, which makes them difficult to use, and also can be quite costly as well. So I've heard of a lot of people, they start using a CRM system and then they find it too complex, and so they stop using it. We work with less annoying CRM. It is what it says on the tin. It's very, very easy to use. It doesn't have all the whistles and bangs that a lot of other CRM systems do. It's a basic CRM system. It is designed for SMEs, and it will allow you to share all the information with your team, and for your team to share information with you. It integrates with all of your devices. So if your VA is making an appointment for you, then as they make the appointment, they save the details into Less Annoying CRM, and that's going to pop it into your iPhone or your Android phone or whatever the device is that you're using. And Less Annoying CRM is very economical as well. So in fact, you can subscribe to Less Annoying CRM from our website. It normally comes with a 30-day free trial, but we can give you a 60-day free trial, so you don't need to commit to anything. You can try it out, see how you get on, and then when if you do decide that you want to go ahead and use it on a more permanent basis, then it's only £12 a month to subscribe to, and you can unsubscribe at any time as well. So we'd really recommend you looking at that. Now let's talk about task management. So really important, again, that you are using some kind of task management software. Often I'd say to people in those olden days, I'd say, well, how do you actually delegate tasks to your VA? And they'd say, well, I'd just send them a WhatsApp, or I'd ring them up and tell them what I want. No, you need to be using some kind of proper task management software. And you need to, as you're putting tasks into the software, you need to make sure that you're setting due by dates. When do you need things to be completed? And I would recommend that you hold weekly, at least once a week, you hold a team meeting with yourself, your VA, if you've got a team of VAs, anybody else involved in the business, you hold that meeting, you do it over Zoom, and you just talk through all of the tasks, all of the things that everybody is working on. And do it as a team, not just individually, because you want your team to work as a team. So you want everybody you want people to build relationships. If they're working remotely and you're just doing it individually, then one person doesn't know anything about the other person or what they do in the organization. That's not having a team. So if you do it at the same time, then people start to build direct relationships. They will communicate with each other outside of that meeting. Everybody knows what everybody else is doing, and coming up with ideas and sharing ideas and having discussions about things, team discussions. And you will just be so much more successful by doing that within your business. And make sure you get daily reports from your team as well. So each day they're sending you a report that says what they've been working on, how long they've been working, any problems they may have. If there's any information that they need further from you, then you can provide that. So do make sure you're getting these daily reports. What you don't want to do is you come to your weekly team meeting and you say, right, okay, well, how have you got on with with that particular task? And they say, well, I couldn't do it because I needed some more information from you. And oh, right, well, did you ask me? Yes, I put it in the daily report. So, it's a vehicle for that. And obviously it's up to you to make sure that you read it. And it doesn't take long just to scan through the daily reports and make sure you're up to speed with what everybody's doing, and if there are any problems that need addressing. Task management software, there's a few out there. We recommend Trello. It's very, very good for this. It's got an app that I would suggest you download to your phone as well. That app, you can put it up on your phone. You can, if you're going to delegate a task to somebody, you can stick it there on Trello. It's just as quick as sending a WhatsApp. So, you know, you've always got your phone in your pocket. So if you're out in the supermarket doing a bit of shopping and you think, I just need somebody to do X, Y, Z, then that's it. Open up the Trello app, stick it on there, and then you can forget about it. Make sure as you're delegating tasks that you are focusing on the outcome. So, you know, what's the result we're looking for here? What's the reason for the task? And then you let people work their own way. So obviously they need to follow the process. You do need to make sure that the process is being followed. But you don't need to explain and tell people exactly how they've got to do things. You know, we all have work in different ways. What works for one person may not work for somebody else. So let people work their own way. And as I said earlier, always do agree a due by date as well. When do you want the task done by? On the Trello, then you have different lists. So we'll have an ad hoc list, you know, to-dos, one-off tasks, and then you can also have tasks of the regular things that need to be done. So things that need to be done on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, and on a monthly basis. Setting this all up is something that a virtual assistant can do for you. So you don't need to spend too much time actually worrying about how to set it up. That is a VA task. Make sure you provide all of the information in one place. So one card per task. And on that card, if there's a link to a website or a document or anything, make sure it's on the actual card, and then it's easy to access and refer back to. And once you've delegated the task, you know, trust and let go. Always remember that virtual assistant or that person that you recruited, you took them on for a reason, because they impressed you. So once you've done that, trust your decision and let go. And be approachable, invite questions. So for many people, they don't like to ask questions. They perhaps feel that, you know, maybe they're going to look stupid. Don't want to ask a stupid question, so they don't ask any questions in time at all. Make sure that you are approachable, that you are asking questions. There's no such thing as a silly question. Questions are really good. You know, they're a sign of strength. They're not a sign of weakness. So be open, yeah, never ridicule. Don't say, oh, I'd have thought you'd known that. Okay, invite the question. If you say, oh, I'd have thought you'd have known that, then guess what? Next time there's a question, they're going to be afraid to ask. So welcome questions, and say, you know, when you've delegated a task and you've talked about it, right, okay, is there anything else at all that you need from me? Is there anything you want me to go back on and repeat? So some of the things that we do, just to let you know how we work. So first of all, when we're recruiting virtual assistants, we go through a very detailed 6-step screening process. So I talked about how you would recruit if you were recruiting on your own. This is what we do. So first of all, they have to fill out a general knowledge questionnaire, and they have to score, I think it's 80% or more on the general knowledge questionnaire before they go to the next round. Then we send them another, and by all means, you know, copy this process if you want. We send them another questionnaire after that, where they have to answer the questions in 200 words or more. So we're looking at what's their grammar like, what's their English like. We get those back, and then we do, as I said earlier, two lots of interviews over Zoom. We do psychometric testing. So we use Genius U, which so I've talked about people either perhaps being creators or being extrovert people, or more introvert, and still some other people, they're much more grounded. They can put systems in place and this sort of thing. So there are different types of people. We use a psychometric test called Genius U. I think if you go on my website, we've got a link to it, so it's free. You don't have to pay for it. And you give that to, we give that to all of our virtual assistants to find out, you know, what are they good at, where are they in their flow. So yeah, by all means use that. We also do police checks as well on all people before we will take them on. So we do a very detailed screening process, and it's only those that get through that we will take on to the next stage, which is training. And I would say, I think I said we get about 250 applicants per month. I would say probably only about 5% will actually make it through that screening process. The next thing we do is we give them some detailed training. Some of it is property related, some of it isn't. So we do train them in how to find property deals on the internet, deal sourcing. We train them in property management, but we also train them in other things as well. So we train them in digital marketing techniques, social media marketing, some of the bits of software that I've just been talking about. So they're all trained in Trello task management, they're trained in Lastpass, they're trained in Annoying CRM. These are just general business tools. We call them the essential tools. So there we go, trained in using various different software and processes that we have in place. We also train them in how to be outstanding as well. So this is personal development training, how to go the extra mile and stand out over other typical virtual assistants that are out there. So they all have Zoom mentoring with me as part of that recruitment process. So it's not until they've gone through all of that we would actually put them in front of a potential client. And if you decide that you want to come on board and become part of the Voom family, we call our clients Voomers, you're going to get a few things. You will get access to a video vault, which has got lots of training and tutorials in there on the things that we teach, recordings of webinars, etc. Every new client gets one-to-one mentoring with me on working with the virtual assistant. I've talked about things like culture, the reporting process, a lot more detail on some of the things that we've discussed here today. You will get access to exclusive webinars that we do. You of course get your own dedicated and trained virtual assistant. We have an IT support desk. So if you need any technical support, you can't get a bit of software working or something like that, then we've got the IT support desk for you as well. You get access to an exclusive Facebook group, which is just for Voomers. And most importantly, ongoing support for both you and for your virtual assistant as well. So this is really important. So if you were to ask your virtual assistant to do something and they don't really know how to do it, well, you don't really have to work it out between the two of you. They would speak to us and we will give them the training and the guidance that they need. And we have a big team, doing lots and lots of different things. So it doesn't really matter whether it's technical, whether it's using particular bits of software, email marketing, anything like that. Chances are we're doing it. So we can give that support also. So now we're going to come on to Q&A session. So let me just make sure I've got my chat box up. Yes, I have. So if you've got any questions, if you type into the chat box, and I'll be happy to answer. So somebody has said, what about the hours of working? Okay, so they're 8 hours. They're 8 hours ahead in the Philippines at this time of year. So when it's 9 o'clock here in the morning, it's going to be I forget on the time of year. So it's some time of the year it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Some time of the year it's 5 o'clock in the afternoon. So our working day sort of starts early evening in the Philippines. When people apply to be a virtual assistant, they know that if they're going to be working for a UK client, which is one of the biggest markets now, that it's going to be evening work. So they quite expect that they're going to be working, you know, through the evening into the night. And for many, that actually fits in with their lifestyle. So different people like different hours. For some people, they may have another job. They may have children that they need to look after during the day. So, you know, it suits them anyway to be working late at night. Some on my team, they do the graveyard shift. Some of them are, you know, still working at 2 o'clock in the morning. We need to be functioning still, you know, into the afternoon, later on in the day. So yeah, especially people that perhaps are taking phone calls, this sort of thing. So, you know, when you're part of that recruitment process, it's a good idea to think about your business, the role, and what does it entail. So, you know, for some tasks, it really doesn't matter. So, for instance, bookkeeping, doesn't matter what time of the day or night they're doing that work. They don't need to be contactable. They can do that work at an hour, at hours that suits them. Then for other people, like I say, if they're taking phone calls, they need to be working with your clients, talking to your clients, then that they may need to be doing that graveyard shift and working right through to the early hours of the morning. So understand that as you're thinking about your thinking about the actual role itself. How do we record hours? How do we know when they're working? So that if I was mumbling, that question is, how do we actually know the hours that our virtual assistant is working? So we use some software called Hubstaff, and Hubstaff is a timer that they run on their desktop. When they start their shift, they click the timer. So that's actually recording their hours. It's also recording keyboard and mouse activity, and taking screenshots as well every 10 minutes, I think it is. So we can actually see from the Hubstaff reports what hours people are working and what they are actually doing, that they are actually doing what they should be doing. Okay, so if there's any other questions, type into the chat box now. If not, I'm going to wrap it up. No. Okay, right. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this month's mentoring. Thank you very much for your time, and hope to see you again next month. Bye-bye.